The night was cold and silent. The wind moved through the trees like a whisper. Ethan sat inside his small wooden cabin, staring at the fire, trying to keep himself warm. He lived alone on the edge of the forest, miles away from the nearest town, and he liked it that way. The world outside had grown too noisy, too busy, but here it was peaceful. As he poured himself a cup of coffee, he noticed a strange light through the window. It was not a shooting star, it was too slow, too bright. The light moved across the sky, leaving a silver trail behind, then suddenly, it changed direction and dropped straight down into the woods behind his cabin. Ethan froze for a moment, his heart beating fast. He thought it could be a plane crash or maybe a meteor. He grabbed his flashlight and coat and stepped outside. The air was sharp and his breath turned into mist. He followed the light's fading trail through the snow-covered trees. After a few minutes of walking, he reached a small clearing. Something was glowing there, a faint blue light pulsing on the ground like a heartbeat. As he moved closer, he saw someone lying in the snow. It was a woman, or at least she looked like one. Her skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight, and her clothes were made of strange metallic fabric, torn and smoking as if burned. Ethan knelt beside her, checking if she was alive. Her breathing was slow but steady. He touched her shoulder, and suddenly her eyes opened. They were silver, glowing softly like liquid metal. She gasped and tried to move away, but she was too weak. Hey, it's okay," Ethan said softly, raising his hands. "I won't hurt you." The woman blinked. Struggling to understand, her voice trembled as she spoke, her accent strange and uneven. "Please don't call." "Them who?" Ethan asked, confused. "They're looking for me," she whispered, glancing toward the dark trees. Her body shook with fear. "Please, hide me." Ethan looked around, hearing nothing but the wind.
Yet something in her voice made him believe her. He didn't know who they were.
But she was terrified and she needed help. He lifted her carefully into his arms, surprised by how light she was, almost weightless, and carried her back to the cabin inside. He placed her on the couch near the fire. Her skin felt cool, almost too cool. He covered her with a blanket, trying to warm her up. For a moment, she just stared at the flames, her eyes wide and full of wonder. "Where are you from?" Ethan asked gently. She looked at him for a long time before answering. "Far away," she said slowly, choosing her words. "I can't go back." Ethan frowned. "Are you saying you're not from Earth?" Her eyes flickered, reflecting the firelight like tiny stars. She didn't answer, but she didn't deny it either. Before Ethan could ask more, a strange sound echoed outside, a low hum, mechanical and deep. The woman's eyes widened in terror. She stood up quickly, her body glowing faintly blue. "They found me," she whispered. Ethan ran to the window. He saw faint red lights moving between the trees like scanners sweeping the forest. The sound grew louder, like engines or drones. He turned back to her. "What are those?" "They are hunters," she said. "Machines sent to bring me back." Her voice trembled, and for a second, Ethan saw something strange on her neck. Small silver lines moving like circuits beneath her skin. She was not human, there was no doubt now. Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we have to hide," he said. She looked at him, surprised. "You would help me?" "Whatever you are," he said, "you're in trouble. And I can't just let them take you." For the first time, she smiled, a small and sad smile. "My name is Lyra," she whispered. "I will not forget this," Ethan nodded. "Come on, Lyra," he said, grabbing his flashlight and opening the back door. "We'll go through the old hunting trail." As they stepped into the dark forest again, the red lights grew brighter behind them. The air was filled with the metallic hum of machines searching. Ethan could feel his heart racing. Every shadow looked alive, every sound made him flinch. Lyra stumbled once, and Ethan caught her hand. Her touch sent a strange warmth through him. Not like electricity, but something deeper, something alive. "Almost there," he whispered, but then behind them, a bright beam of red light flashed through the trees. Scanning the ground, a drone hovered above. Its lens focusing on them, Lyra gasped, and for a moment, her entire body glowed, bright blue light wrapping around her like armor. Ethan covered his eyes as the drone exploded in a burst of energy. The light faded and Lyra collapsed, trembling. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. His mind raced with fear and disbelief. "What are you?" he whispered. Lyra looked up weakly, her silver eyes dimming. "A mistake," she said softly. Before closing her eyes again, Ethan held her close. The forest around them silent once more. But he knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. Something far from human was still hunting in the darkness. Ethan carried Lyra back to his cabin, his heart pounding with confusion and fear. The forest was silent again, but he knew that silence was only a warning, not safety. He could still hear faint echoes of that strange humming far away, moving through the trees like metal wolves searching for prey. Inside the cabin, he placed Lyra on the couch near the fire again. Her skin still had that soft glow fading slowly. Her breathing was uneven, and small sparks of blue light flickered under her skin. Ethan didn't know what to do. He wasn't a doctor, and he sure wasn't trained to help an alien. He sat beside her, wiping snow from her hair. Her features looked almost human, but not quite. Her eyes were too bright, her skin too smooth, and there was a faint pattern on her neck that looked like silver veins. When she finally opened her eyes again, she whispered his name. Ethan. Her voice was weak but clear. You saved me. Ethan tried to smile. You can thank me after you tell me what's going on. Lyra sat up slowly, wrapping the blanket tighter around her. For a moment she said nothing, just stared into the fire, the flames reflecting in her silver eyes. Then she spoke. I come from a place far beyond your world, she said softly. A place of light and metal, a world where feelings are forbidden. Ethan frowned. Trying to understand, you mean another planet? Lyra nodded. Yes, my world is called Kelora. It was once full of life, but over time, my people changed themselves. They removed emotion. They replaced love and pain with logic and control. Her voice trembled slightly as she continued. I was created to serve the royal line, and later, chosen as a bride for the High Warlord. But I didn't want that life. I didn't want to be owned. Ethan leaned forward. So you ran away? Lyra nodded again. Yes, I escaped. I stole a transport vessel and fled. But they sent the hunters after me. The drones you saw are only scouts. The real danger is coming. Ethan looked toward the window, the dark forest outside suddenly feeling smaller. They'll come here, won't they? They already know I am here, she said quietly. The signal from my body tells them I was made to never hide from my masters. Ethan rubbed his forehead, trying to think. Can we stop it? Lyra hesitated. Maybe, but I will need time and energy to block it. My body is still weak, and I need a power source. Ethan stood, pacing. I have an old generator in the shed. It might help, she smiled faintly. You are brave, Ethan, for a human. He shrugged, trying to hide his fear. Or stupid, he muttered. For a few minutes he worked outside, dragging the small generator inside the cabin. The cold air bit at his hands, but he kept going. When he brought it in, Lyra placed her glowing hands on it, and the generator came alive, humming louder than ever before. Sparks of blue and white light ran across its surface. Ethan watched in awe. You can control energy? Lyra nodded. I was designed to understand all forms of energy. I can bend it, store it, even reshape it. The light from the generator surrounded her for a few seconds, and her body seemed to absorb it. Her wounds healed, and her eyes began to glow stronger again, but there was pain in that glow, a sadness she couldn't hide. I don't want to go back, she whispered. I don't want to live without feeling, without choice. Ethan looked at her, realizing she wasn't just a machine or some alien soldier. She was alive, scared, desperate, and free for the first time. Suddenly, a sharp noise came from outside. Ethan turned toward the window. He saw another red light moving through the forest. Closer this time, he quickly turned off the lanterns. They're back, he whispered. Lyra stood up, her glowing hands tightening into fists. They never stop, she said. They are programmed to bring me back or destroy me. Ethan grabbed his old hunting rifle, even though he knew it wouldn't help much against alien tech. If they come in, we fight, he said. Lyra glanced at the weapon and gave a faint smile. Brave words, but your weapon fires metal. There's fire stars. Before Ethan could answer, a loud metallic thud shook the cabin. The door trembled, then another bang followed. They were trying to break in. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shining bright silver. Stay behind me, she said firmly. The door burst open, and a small spherical drone floated inside. Its red lens scanned the room, locking onto Lyra. It emitted a high-pitched sound that made the glass windows shake. Lyra raised her hand. A blue wave of energy shot out, hitting the drone and sending it crashing into the wall. Sparks flew as it exploded, but as the smoke cleared, 3 more red lights appeared outside, approaching fast. Ethan could feel the cabin floor vibrating under the weight of something larger moving toward them. Lyra turned to him, her expression calm but serious. "This is only the beginning, Ethan," she said. "If I stay, your world will burn." Ethan shook his head. "Then we'll find another way." She looked at him with something close to hope. Something she might not have even understood yet. A human emotion she was still learning. Outside, the sound of engines grew louder, and the night sky flickered with red light. The hunt was far from over. The night outside the cabin was alive with red light. The hum of engines rolled through the forest like thunder, and Ethan could see the shadows of strange machines moving between the trees. Their lights cut through the fog like blades. Searching, hunting, Lyra stood near the broken door, her silver eyes glowing softly. "They are closing in," she said, her voice calm but heavy with fear. "Once they locate us, they will not stop." Ethan tightened his grip on the rifle, even though deep down he knew it was useless. "Then we'll move before they get here," he said. "There's a cave north of the ridge. I used to store my hunting gear there. It's hidden." Lyra looked at him, studying his face as if trying to understand his bravery. "You risk everything for me," she said quietly. "Why?" Ethan hesitated. "Because you're running from something bigger than yourself, and no one deserves to be hunted." For a brief moment, her eyes softened. "Humans are strange," she said. "You protect what you cannot understand." "Maybe that's what makes us human," he replied. They packed quickly. Ethan took a flashlight, some food, and his old camping gear. Lyra touched the metal frame of the generator before leaving. Absorbing the last bit of energy, her glow dimmed slightly, but her strength returned. As they stepped into the forest, the sound of the machines grew louder. Red beams swept across the snow. Cutting through the darkness, Ethan led the way, careful to step where the snow was already disturbed. Hiding their tracks, Lyra followed silently, her movements light and graceful, but her eyes scanned the sky. "The drones will not stop," she whispered. "They are linked to the warlord's mind. He sees through them." Ethan frowned. "So, he knows where you are?" "Not yet," she said, "but he feels it. The bond between us was forced, and now it burns. He knows I'm afraid." Ethan looked back at her. "Then stop being afraid," he said. "Fear gives him power." Lyra smiled faintly. "You speak like a soldier." "Just a man trying to survive," he said. They reached the edge of a frozen stream and crossed carefully. The moon reflected off the ice, making everything glow with pale blue light. For a moment it was beautiful, even peaceful, but that peace didn't last. A sudden beam of red light struck the ground near them, snow exploding into steam. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her down behind a fallen tree. A drone hovered above, scanning the area. Its lens rotating, clicking. Lyra's eyes flared bright silver. "They've found us," she whispered. Ethan raised his rifle, but Lyra placed a hand on his arm. "No bullets," she said. "I'll handle it." Her body began to glow brighter, the patterns on her skin pulsing like living wires. She closed her eyes, and the air around her shimmered. The snow lifted, frozen in midair, then blasted outward in a wave of blue light. The drone shattered instantly, pieces of metal raining down. Ethan stared at her in shock. "You can do that?" She opened her eyes slowly, the glow fading. "Only for a short time." "It drains me," she said weakly. "But more will come." Ethan nodded, helping her stand. "Then we better move faster." They continued through the forest, moving deeper into the wilderness. The cold bit into their skin, and the sky above glowed faintly red. The alien ships were still far, but close enough to feel their presence. As they climbed the ridge, Ethan noticed Lyra's steps slowing. Her breathing grew heavier. "You okay?" he asked. She shook her head. "My energy is fading. I need to recharge soon. Or I'll collapse," he thought for a moment. "There's an old cabin near the river. We can rest there." But before they could reach it, a sharp mechanical sound echoed behind them. A large drone, bigger than the rest, appeared from the trees, its body covered in armor. Red lights flashing across its surface. Lyra froze. "That is a Hunter Prime," she whispered. "It won't stop until one of us is dead." The drone spoke in a metallic voice. "Subject Lyra of Kaelora, surrender. You cannot escape." Ethan stepped in front of her, his hands shaking. "Stay behind me," he said. Lyra looked at him, shocked. "You can't fight that." "Maybe not," he said. "But I can slow it down." He fired at the drone, the bullets bouncing off harmlessly. The machine aimed its energy weapon, firing a red blast that hit the ground near them, throwing Ethan backward. He landed hard, snow filling his vision. Lyra screamed his name. The hunter turned toward her, ready to fire again, but she raised both hands. her entire body blazing with blue light. The energy around her exploded, the trees bending as waves of power burst out. The hunter tried to resist, but the blue light tore through its metal shell, sending it crashing into the ground. When the light faded, Lyra collapsed beside Ethan. Her glow was almost gone, her voice was weak. "You see, this is what they made me. A weapon." Ethan pushed himself up, his face bruised. "You're not a weapon, Lyra. You're a person," he said. "You saved my life," she smiled faintly. "You saved mine first." The forest around them was quiet again, smoke rising from the wreckage of the destroyed hunter. But they both knew more would come. The warlord now knew exactly where she was. Ethan looked at her, determination in his eyes. "Then we'll make sure he never finds you," he said. Lyra nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "Then we must go where even the stars cannot follow." Above them, the sky pulsed red, the hunt far from over, and somewhere beyond the clouds, a dark ship turned toward Earth. The dawn came slowly, turning the frozen forest silver and pale. Ethan and Lyra walked in silence, the air cold enough to sting their skin. Smoke still drifted from the broken shell of the hunter drone behind them. But they didn't look back. They knew more would come. Ethan's breath came out in clouds as he climbed the slope ahead. He could see the entrance to the old military bunker, half buried in snow and forgotten by time. He had found it years ago while hiking and sealed it for safety. Now it would become their hiding place almost there, Ethan said. Trying to sound calm, Lyra nodded weakly, her step slow and unsteady. Her light had dimmed, her skin now pale instead of silver blue. Inside the bunker, the air was cold and still. Ethan turned on a flashlight and brushed away the frost from old metal crates. Dust floated in the beam of light. The bunker was empty but safe, deep underground. He spread a blanket on the floor and helped Lyra sit. Her breathing was slow, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. "You need rest," he said. "I need energy," she whispered, her voice thin. "Without it, I cannot hide from them." Ethan thought for a moment, then pulled out a car battery he had stored long ago. "Will this work?" he asked. Lyra looked at it, then smiled faintly. "Human tools," she said softly. "Simple, but alive." She touched the metal with her fingertips, and a faint blue spark leapt between her skin and the battery. The air shimmered slightly and her body absorbed the energy slowly. Her breathing steadied as she rested. Ethan sat across from her, watching quietly. He couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The machines, the lights, the power she carried. She was unlike anything he'd ever imagined, and yet something in her eyes felt deeply human. After a while, Lyra opened her eyes again. "Ethan," she said, "do you ever wonder why your kind looks at the stars?" He blinked, surprised by the question. "All the time," he said. "Maybe because we want to know what's out there. Or maybe we just don't want to be alone." Lyra smiled softly. "On my world, we stopped looking long ago. We believed we were the center of all things. We believed logic made us perfect." She looked away, her expression darkening. "But logic without feeling is death. We forgot what it means to love, to dream, to care." Ethan leaned forward. "Is that why you ran away?" Lyra nodded. "They chose me to be the warlord's bride, to rule beside him. But it was not love. It was control. I was made to obey, to be part of his system. But I wanted something else. I wanted to choose." Her voice shook slightly, and for a moment, Ethan saw tears forming, bright silvered drops that glowed like starlight before vanishing. Ethan's chest tightened. "You chose freedom," he said softly. "Yes," she whispered, "but freedom comes with pain." "I learned that now." A faint rumble came from above. The ground vibrating slightly, Ethan froze. "They're scanning again," he said. Lyra closed her eyes, sensing the energy waves through the air. "Yes, but not close yet," she said. "They are searching the valley. They know I'm still alive." Ethan stood and began checking the bunker walls, making sure the entrance was secure. "How long until they find us?" "Not long," she said. "Their technology can trace even faint energy patterns. I can mask us for a while. But it will cost me." He turned to her. "Don't. You've already done enough." Lyra shook her head. "If they find this place, they will destroy everything within miles. Humans will die. I cannot let that happen." Her glow brightened for a moment as she extended her hand toward the wall. A soft blue wave spread outward, covering the bunker. Ethan could feel the temperature drop. The hum of the machines outside faded, replaced by silence. "What did you do?" he asked. I folded our energy signature, she said quietly. We are invisible for now. Ethan sat beside her, the flashlight flickering. You're amazing, he said. Lyra looked at him, confusion in her eyes. Amazing! It means incredible, Ethan explained. Special. She tilted her head slightly. On my world, we don't use that word. We only measure value by function, not by wonder. Well, here, Ethan said. You're a wonder. For the first time. Lyra laughed, soft and uncertain but real. The sound echoed through the bunker like music. Then she looked at him seriously. Ethan, if they capture me, they will not stop with me. They will study your world, your people. They will see what makes you different. And they will destroy it, Ethan's expression hardened. Then they'll have to go through me first, Lyra shook her head. You don't understand. The warlord, sees me as property. He will come himself if he must. Ethan clenched his fists. Then let him come, he said. He'll find out what happens when humans fight for someone they care about. Lyra stared at him, her silver eyes reflecting the faint firelight. There was something new in her gaze, something she had never felt before. Trussed outside, the wind howled through the valley. The snow began to fall again. The world above them looked calm, but in the black sky beyond the clouds, a massive shape moved, a warship dark and silent. Entering Earth's orbit, Lyra felt it before Ethan did, a deep vibration in her bones. He's here, she whispered. The warlord has come. Ethan's heart pounded as he looked toward the bunker door, knowing the real battle was only beginning. The air inside the bunker felt heavier that morning. The silence was too deep, too perfect, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Ethan sat near the entrance, listening to the faint hum of the generator, while Lyra stood by the wall, her eyes glowing faintly silver blue. She hadn't spoken much since the night before. Ethan finally broke the silence. You can feel him, can't you? Lyra turned slowly, her face calm but pale. Yes, she whispered, he is near. His presence touches the air like a storm waiting to break. Ethan stood and looked at her. You said he was your warlord. What does that mean exactly? Lyra hesitated, searching for words simple enough for him to understand. He was created to rule us all. His mind is linked to the core, the great network that connects every being on Kalora. He sees through the eyes of his soldiers. He hears through the drones and he feels my signal. Because I was once part of him, Ethan frowned. Your signal? She nodded. Every creation on my world carries a living code, a pulse. It tells the core where we are, what we think even when we dream. When I ran away, I changed everything about myself except that one thing. I thought it was gone, but the core rebuilt it. It's still sending out a trace. Ethan's stomach tightened. You mean they can track you? Yes, she said softly. And the signal is getting stronger. He walked to the corner and started searching through his tools. Then we turn it off, he said. We cut the signal. Lyra smiled faintly. It's not that simple, Ethan. This code is a part of me. If we remove it the wrong way, I could die. Ethan didn't answer. He grabbed a screwdriver, a flashlight, and an old car battery. Then we do it the right way, he said. Determination in his eyes, Lyra watched him quietly, something warm flickering behind her silver gaze. Humans, she said softly. You always fight even when you cannot win. He smiled a little. That's kind of our thing. They work together. Ethan set up the small light and placed the tools beside her. Lyra knelt down and touched the floor. A faint blue circuit-like pattern appeared around her, glowing softly. You will have to find the pulse, she said. It beats under my skin near the heart. But you must move carefully. If you break the connection too fast, it will release energy strong enough to burn through this bunker. Ethan swallowed hard. No pressure, he muttered. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder, feeling the faint hum under her skin. It wasn't like a heartbeat. It was more like an electronic rhythm, a living machine pulsing with energy, slowly. He used the small metallic tool to follow the faint silver lines under her skin. The glow brightened, reacting to his touch. Lyra winced but didn't pull away. Almost there, she whispered. You're close, Ethan focused, ignoring the cold sweat running down his neck. He found a small crystal embedded near her collarbone, glowing like a tiny star. This it? Yes, she said, her voice trembling. Break the connection and ground it to the battery. Ethan took a deep breath, then twisted the metal piece and connected it to the battery wire. The room filled with a blinding flash of blue light. The ground shook, sparks danced through the air. Ethan was thrown backward, hitting the wall hard when the light faded. Lyra was on the ground, breathing heavily. Her skin no longer glowed as before, just faint traces of light flowing like water under her skin. Ethan crawled to her side. "Lyra, hey, are you okay?" Her eyes fluttered open, and for the first time since he met her, they looked completely human. "The signal," she whispered. "It's gone," Ethan smiled, relief washing over him. "You did it." Lyra shook her head weakly. "We did it," but before they could rest, a deep rumble echoed from above. The bunker walls trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. Ethan looked up. "What now?" Lyra's face grew pale. "He knows," she said softly. He felt the break. "The warlord is coming here himself." Ethan grabbed his rifle. "Then we move now." Lyra tried to stand, but she stumbled. Ethan caught her. "You can't fight him like this," he said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I will fight because if he takes me, he will use Earth as his next experiment. He will make your world like mine, cold and without heart." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Then we stop him together." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, her hand touching his cheek. "You would face a god for me," she said softly. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because maybe you're the only one who remembers how to be human." Outside, the earth shook again, louder this time. The sound of engines filled the air. Red lights flashed through the snow. The warship had arrived, enormous and silent, blotting out the clouds. Lyra turned toward the door, her eyes glowing faintly again. "He's here," she whispered, "and he won't stop until I'm his again." Ethan stood beside her, his breath fogging in the cold air. Then he'll have to learn what it means to fight a human heart. As the sound of the ship grew louder, a shadow covered the sky. The warlord had come to Earth, and the final hunt had begun. The night was alive with thunder and fire. The warship hovered above the forest like a dark god, its massive shadow covering the land. Trees bent under the force of its engines, and the air vibrated with an unnatural hum. Ethan and Lyra ran through the snow-covered woods, their breath forming white clouds in the cold. Lyra stumbled, but Ethan caught her arm. "We have to move faster," he said, his voice shaking from fear and exhaustion. Behind them, a beam of blue light sliced through the trees, turning trunks into dust. The warlord's drones had landed, moving like metal wolves through the darkness. "They've locked onto my last location," Lyra said between breaths. "We can't hide anymore, we must fight." Ethan looked around, scanning the forest. "Fight? With what?" he asked, his voice bitter. "You saw what they did to that hill." "We're nothing compared to that." Lyra turned toward him, her silver eyes glowing again, brighter now. "You forget, Ethan. I am not nothing," she said softly. Her hands lifted and the air shimmered around her. Sparks of light danced between her fingers, and the snow melted in a perfect circle around her feet. Ethan stepped back, watching her. "You said the signal was gone." "It is," she said, "but the power was always mine. I was born from the core, and though I broke free, I still carry its fire." The first drone burst through the trees, its body shaped like a predator, black and sharp, its red eyes glowing like coals. Lyra raised her hand, and a wave of blue energy exploded outward. The drone froze midair, its circuits sparking before collapsing to the ground in flames. Ethan stared in awe. "Remind me never to make you angry," he muttered. Lyra smiled faintly. "You couldn't," she said, her voice calm but sad. But then a deep voice echoed through the forest, mechanical, cold and full of power. "Lyra of Kilora," it said. "You have broken the link, but not the bond. You belong to me." Ethan felt his blood run cold. The trees shook as the warlord descended. His figure was enormous, tall, armored in dark metal that pulsed like living skin, his face hidden behind a mask of silver. Eyes burning like twin suns, Lyra stood still, her hands trembling. "Warlord, you should not have come." The being laughed, the sound metallic and cruel. "You ran from perfection to live among the flawed," he said. "You could have ruled a world. Yet you chose to die with insects." Ethan raised his rifle, stepping in front of Lyra. "Watch your mouth, Tin God," he said. "These insects bite." The warlord turned his gaze toward him. "A human," he said with contempt. "A fragile creature made of fear and weakness." "Maybe," Ethan said. "But I still stand between you and her." The warlord lifted his arm. A blast of red energy shot forward. Ethan barely dodged, the ground exploding behind him. Lyra screamed and unleashed a wave of blue light. The two powers collided, red and blue merging into a storm of fire and lightning. The shockwave tore through the woods, trees shattered, snow turned into steam, and the ground cracked open. Ethan rolled behind a fallen log. Covering his head, the sound was deafening. When the light faded, Lyra stood panting, her hair flowing wildly, sparks of blue energy flickering around her. The warlord was still standing, but his armor smoked. He looked almost amused. "You are strong, Lyra," he said. "Stronger than I expected, but you cannot destroy what you are made from." Lyra's voice trembled. "I am not made from you anymore." He extended his hand, a beam of red energy wrapped around her. Lifting her off the ground, she screamed, her body glowing as the power surged through her. Ethan ran forward, shouting her name, but the energy pushed him back like a hurricane. The warlord's voice boomed, "You are mine." But Lyra's eyes suddenly turned white, pure light pouring from them. "No," she said. "I am free." A blinding explosion followed. The forest lit up like a second sunrise. Ethan was thrown backward again, crashing against the ground when he opened his eyes. Everything was glowing blue. The warlord was on one knee. His armor cracked and sparking, Lyra floated above the ground, her body surrounded by swirling light. "You cannot control me anymore," she said, her voice echoing through the air. "I carry your code, yes, but I also carry something you never understood. A human heart." Ethan crawled to his knees, watching in shock as the light around her grew brighter. "Lyra, stop," he shouted. "You'll burn yourself out." She looked down at him, a small smile on her lips. "If that's what it takes to stop him, it's worth it," the warlord roared, gathering his strength. "Then we both die," he said. He charged forward. Energy blazing from his hands, Lyra met him midair. Blue and red light colliding again. The sound was like the sky breaking apart. Energy tore through the forest, ripping roots from the ground, and lightning struck the frozen earth. Ethan screamed her name, but the world was drowned in light. When the storm finally cleared, the warship above began to shake, fire spilling from its engines. It crashed far beyond the mountains, a red glow marking its fall. The woods were silent again, snow falling gently through the broken trees. Ethan stood slowly, calling her name again. "Lyra," he whispered, "where are you?" There was no answer, only the soft glow of blue light fading into the snow. Snow drifted through the air like falling ashes. The once mighty forest was now a grave of light and smoke. Trees lay broken, the ground still warm from the blast. Ethan pushed himself up slowly, his body aching, his clothes torn and covered in dust. For a moment, he could not hear anything except the faint crackle of burning wood and the whisper of wind through the shattered branches. He called her name again, weakly, "Lyra," his voice echoing across the frozen silence. No answer came, only the echo of his own voice fading into the white distance. He stumbled through the ruins, calling again and again, "Lyra, where are you?" His breath was heavy, his heart pounding. Every step felt heavier than the last. Then, far ahead, he saw it, a faint glow, small and blue, flickering like a dying flame. He ran toward it, slipping through the snow, falling, rising, and pushing forward again. The glow grew brighter, and soon he found her. Lyra lay on the snow, her body still, her silver hair spread like starlight across the ground. Her eyes were closed, and faint trails of light ran under her skin. Fading slowly, Ethan dropped to his knees beside her. "No, no, please, don't do this," he whispered, his hands trembling as he touched her cheek. Her skin was warm, but her pulse was faint. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing softly. "Ethan," she said weakly, her voice soft like the wind. "You're alive." He let out a shaky breath. "Barely, but I'm here. You did it." "You stopped him." Lyra looked past him at the smoking horizon, where the warlord's ship had crashed. "He's gone," she said. "The core cannot reach this world anymore." Ethan nodded, trying to smile. "Then it's over." Lyra's gaze softened. "For you, yes," he frowned. "What do you mean?" She raised her hand slowly, touching the side of his face. "The energy I released was not meant for this world. My form cannot hold it much longer. It is dissolving, breaking apart." Ethan shook his head. "No, we can fix it. I'll take you back to the bunker. We'll find a way." Lyra smiled faintly. "You still believe you can fix everything?" she whispered. "That is what makes humans beautiful." He gripped her hand tightly. "I'm not letting you die." Lyra, her eyes shimmered. "I am not dying, Ethan. I'm going home," she said softly. Not to Calora, but to the light itself. Where the signal ends and peace begins, tears filled his eyes. You can't leave me, not after everything. Lyra's hand moved weakly to his chest. I am not leaving, she said. I will always be here in this world you showed me. In the warmth of the sun, in the song of the wind, and in the hearts that choose love over control. The blue light around her body grew brighter. Rising like tiny stars from her skin, she looked at him one last time. Promise me something, she whispered. Anything, he said, his voice breaking. Tell them, she said. Tell your people that not all who come from the stars are conquerors. Some only seek to remember what it means to feel. Ethan nodded. Holding back tears, I promise, Lyra smiled, and a single tear of light slid down her cheek. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be human. Her body began to dissolve into light, each fragment floating upward like glowing dust. Ethan tried to hold her, but his hands passed through the shimmering glow. Lyra, he whispered. Please. The last of her form shimmered before him. And then, she was gone. Only the soft blue light remained, swirling upward into the night sky like a rising star. It drifted higher and higher until it disappeared among the constellations. Ethan fell to his knees, staring at the sky. His breath came out in clouds of white mist, and for a long time he said nothing. He sat there in the quiet, surrounded by the ruins of the forest, his heart heavy yet strangely full. When dawn came, the world was silent. The light of the morning sun painted the snow gold, and the smoke faded slowly into the clear sky. Ethan stood, his legs weak but steady, and began to walk toward the distant mountains. As he walked, he looked up once more, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw a streak of blue light dancing between the clouds like a whisper from the stars. He smiled faintly. Goodbye, Lyra, he said softly. And thank you. The wind carried his words away, across the forest, over the mountains, into the endless sky, and somewhere far beyond human sight. Among the stars, a soft blue light shimmered in answer. Lyra was gone, but her story would live forever, not as a tale of loss, but as a reminder that even in the vast silence of the universe, love can still be found, and sometimes it takes something not quite human to remind humanity what it truly means to be alive.